been a voice actor?
12 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Started out 12 years ago with Dragon Ball Z, with Krillin. At that time, though, you know, Krillin is kind of in and out, you know. So it was still a part-time job. I couldn't rely on it. Luckily, my day job has always been as a commercial artist and cartoonist, so I had to work. But voice acting was just something I did for fun on the side. And then Cartoon Network had a nationwide audition between all the studios that they work with, and for Toonami Tom. And when I auditioned for Toonami Tom, they gave us, you guys remember what VHS is?
Yes.
They used to show moving pictures on tape, and that was a VHS. They gave us all, everyone who was auditioning got a VHS of Toonami Tom just walking, you know. And they said, you know, before the weekend, before we auditioned, we had time to look at it and try to come up with a voice. So we were all trying to do robot voices and things like that because it looked like a robot, right? And we went to the audition, and there's a few voice actors from Funimation went before me, and they were all confused, like, what do you mean? You just want our regular voices? That's so strange, you know? And then, but we got these robot voices, right? And like, no, that's all we want to hear. So I realized by listening to them, because we could hear the auditions over the loudspeakers, which is not usually the case, but I could hear they were looking for a punk. So I went in there and I said, do you mean to tell me that I spent the entire weekend coming up with this great robot voice and you don't even want to hear it? They said, well, I mean, I guess we could hear it, right? So I did some sort of robot voice and they went, that's terrible. And I went, okay, so what are you looking for? And they said, you know what we're looking for. We're looking for what you're doing right now. Cool, okay. And I got cast as that. Well, when I got cast as him, there was slightly more income. And all of a sudden I realized I had stumbled onto a career. And so that's when I really got into voice acting. And then I started auditioning more because I went, wow, this could actually pay my bills, you know. And took all the commercial art pretty much out of my job and just left the cartooning art. But that cartooning art actually, I'd been published like 12 times before I had become a voice actor. But at my very first major convention was Comic-Con. And Comic-Con is massive, right?
Yeah.
Everybody who's anybody in the comic book industry and many other industries is there. And one of my favorite cartoonists is a woman named Wendy Pini, who created a series called ElfQuest. And she was at a booth next to our booth when we were signing. And she drew pictures of our characters because she's a fan of Dragon Ball Z. So who figured? So I drew pictures of our characters and gave it back to her with her characters on it. And she's like, what? You draw? And I went, yeah, I draw. And I told her I'd been published a few times. And she said, oh, you have to work for me. And I went, oh, draw ElfQuest. You know? I literally felt the floor fall out and just suspended in air. And I said, yes. So it has been good for my comic book career, too, being a voice actor. Then I worked in her studio as an apprentice for her for a year and learned so much in that time. It was an amazing experience. So the answer to your question is 12 years. That was a long answer. Any other questions that require long answers? Yes?
Do you find yourself more attached to Krillin or Hughes, and whose death was harder on you?
Oh, Hughes' death was a lot harder because he really dies. Krillin doesn't die. I get to go train with, you know, the King Kai for a while. That's cool. And then get to go play again, you know. So it's not a real death. But I'm very attached to Krillin. I mean, Krillin was the first one I did, you know, and he and I grew up together as, you know, in my voice acting years because I was very green. I'd never done anything like that before. And now with Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is awesome, we get to go back and re-record those things, you know, and it's like how we would have done it if we were good back then. So, yeah, definitely Krillin. I'm very attached to him. Yeah?
Does anybody ever recognize you, like, out on the streets? Like, you're just walking?
A little lately, the past couple of years, you know, but when we first started out, I mean, they only knew our characters, right? But enough of our pictures have been printed up online and stuff like that. I mean, now it's like 150,000 entries for Sonny Strait alone, right? Krillin is off the map. So at conventions, it used to be even at conventions people didn't recognize me, you know. Now I walk down here and say, Sonny Strait, Sonny Strait, Sonny Strait. I told my wife it's really spooky this year because I'm walking down the hall and Sonny Strait, Sonny Strait. But yeah. Any other questions? This guy over here recognized me while I was working out, which can be I was going to the gym, you know, and I'm expecting people to watch me, you know. He's like, oh, look at those losers in there working out. He's like, oh, it's Sonny Strait! I mean, he's going to bench like 250 pounds, you know, and I was like, no, it's 15 pound dumbbells.
And then I'm done. So.
But yeah, you don't want people watching you while you do that. Yes?
What do you think is the saddest episode from the office?
Saddest thing? Well, definitely 25, you know. That was
Other than that.
that is the saddest one. Everything else was just
The
crap.
second.
I'm just kidding. What was your question?
Out of all the parts that you tried out for or got, what was the most challenging to really capture? And in that, what was the most rewarding when you finished?
The most challenging one for me, and it's still the most challenging one, is Usopp. And he's challenging vocally because you guys know 4Kids got the show first, right? And the Japanese were not pleased with the direction it was going, so they gave it to Funimation to do. Now, Funimation, what they wanted from us was to take the top 10 voice actors for every character who auditioned. And they took the recordings of our voices, sent the recordings to Japan, and the creator of the series, along with the company executives, actually cast the American cast. It has never happened for me, ever. So it's one part that if you say you don't like it, I don't give a shit, because the guy who created this says, that's what I hear. But also, it's the one show we really try to stick close to the inflection and the original intention of the Japanese as well. So we get to hear it a lot. So it's the most challenging one to do. Also, Usopp, when he started out, he had a lot more subtleties, you know. I mean, he would talk, you know, and have little conversations. But as he progressed, he just yelled and yelled and yelled. And all of his lines seemed to be screaming. So and that is a vocal challenge that I have to really warm up for, and usually can't do more than like 3 hours consecutively, and then not talk the rest of the next day. But especially with Usopp. Yes?
What are your favorite animes out there today that you weren't casting?
Beck, definitely. Love that show. Wish I'd gotten that show. Yeah.
How do you think Hughes would act if, instead of having Elise's daughter, he had a son probably named like Alan or something like that?
Yeah, I think he would probably have to come up with a new shtick, you know. And he's not, you know, he seems to be more the kind of dad that would have a daddy's girl, you know. It doesn't seem like he'd have like this. I mean, like, hey, my son kicks ass, you know. He taught him to throw knives the other day. He's really good at it.
A manly mannerism.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be different.